right. All right. Fun day. Really, really fun day, competitive day. I told the team after that was a very fitting end to our spring, because I would say that's in a lot of ways kind of what our spring has looked like in terms of kind of competitive down to the wire, and most days have been like that. And that's, I think a lot of my excitement comes from just from in the past, like looking back, some of the better teams that I've had a chance to be a part of, that's what it was like the majority of the time. Like every day was a battle. And if any player or any position group or any side of the ball didn't show up, the other group was going to make them pay, and it just created this great competitiveness back and forth. And I think even those of you that were here at this game a year before, it may be tough for a little bit to tell from the stands. I don't know, but just the body types, some of the size, especially at the line of scrimmage, some of the competitive depth that at a lot of these positions is very different, and in a much positive way. So very, very excited about that. It's been a really nice spring. This is a great way to finish it off. Obviously, this team has a lot of work in front of us, a lot that we got to get better at. Our mentality this entire spring has been to take the standard that was established in year one and really go do something with it, and really try to push it to another level. And we've raised the standards for our guys in every part of the program to help achieve that. And I think by and large part, these guys have done a good job attacking it. So again, successful day. I think we stayed healthy, which, pretty fortunate to stay relatively healthy throughout the entire spring. Really got out of spring without any major injuries. I think anything that will affect us much in the fall, which is obviously a great positive. And obviously you saw a lot of guys making plays, including these two guys right here. So a lot to build on, but a lot to be excited about after today.
Who stood out to you today and really kind of punctuated their spring?
It's always the hardest day for me to evaluate, because, like during a normal game, I'm on the sideline and either one of our special teams, our offense or our defense is out there, and I'm, other than, offense, when I'm calling it, you're able to kind of see it all. Whereas this one, it just goes and goes and goes and goes. So, obviously, Jacobe's play at the end, and he had a couple other plays of the day I thought really, really stood out. Christian Pierce's play was, I don't know, we've seen a couple shots of that from Christian this spring. I don't think anybody on either sideline was real surprised to see that. And MarShawn had a couple of great plays like he's had really throughout spring. Listen, no side was perfect. Like both sides had times where plays were being made against them. Both sides had some really big plays of their own. We had kind of stretches where the defense was winning and stopping. We had stretches where the offense was scoring, like just a little bit of everything. And I thought the guys handled it well. Dennis obviously hit the ball well, which was really good. Great to get some of those life kicking situations. But yeah, I think a lot to be excited about. I don't know that I would single anyone out. I'll certainly answer questions individually about any of the guys, but very reminiscent and very, like I said, just very representative of what we've seen up to this point for the last 14 practices.
Talking about the size of bodies this year compared to last year, it seemed like the defensive line had a really good day today, specifically Solo.
Yeah, Solo's really improved. He's definitely been one of the standouts of spring. He was obviously converted, to the defensive line. It was new last year. Everything from here last year was just he's such a tough, competitive, physical guy that everything basically was just a bull rush and run in there and try to kind of win on guts and toughness and physicality, but not as much technique. And you're starting to see him become more refined as a player. And with that, he's able to win in different ways, and he's affecting the game more right now. So he's been one of our steadiest, but also kind of most explosive players on the edge this spring. And so to see him disruptive is, again, we've been seeing it here for 14 straight days.
Caleb only played one series.
One.
What was the thinking behind that?
He's played a lot of football, and you come into a deal like this. It's my job is to look at it and what can we get the most out of today. And I don't know that playing 2 or 3 more series is going to change anything for Caleb in September, October, November. Right now, for a guy like Miller Moss, who hasn't had a lot of live game snaps, these are invaluable. For a guy like Malachi Nelson or Jake Jensen, this is kind of their first time to really do it. Malachi, especially being a true freshman, and these snaps are way more valuable to those guys than maybe somebody that's played the amount of ball that Caleb has. So He had a good first series. We knew coming in that was kind of the thought. We were going to probably play one series and let the other guys get the rest of the game.
Is there one thing about him you want to see him do better this year?
Talking about Caleb?
Yeah.
Gosh, it'd be hard to narrow it down to one, honestly. I mean, if I could narrow it down to one, he needs to get coached a lot better in a lot of things. So that's a good answer. I think consistency in the situations, kind of situation mastery, which is, I thought he did some really good things in them last year, but there's some things that we would want back. And there's learning the position, there's learning the offense, there's learning the routes, there's learning how to execute, and then you take it, and the game situation can change a lot of that, and you have to be able to process that so quickly because the situation can change down to down. We've really worked hard on that. It was good last year. It needs to be great this year. You're welcome.
Lincoln, throughout your spring and culminating into today, what have you been seeing out of some of your skill positions who you've got through the transfer portal? MarShawn, Dorian, guys like that.
Yeah, we've been pleased. I mean, we feel like we've landed on the right guys, the right kind of players, the right kind of people, and I give all the guys that have come in a lot of credit because it's a little different than coming in last year. Last year they a little bit of blind faith with us, right? These guys got to see a little bit last year about what we were about, and they wanted to come in and be a part of not now establishing but building on the standard and taking this team where we want to go. And so they're a great group of character guys. Certainly MarShawn's added a lot to the backfield. You got to see a little taste of that today. Dorian's been certainly tremendous in the receiver room. Christian Rowland Wallace, we've really been pleased with him and how he's adapted. Mason Cobb has had a huge impact on our spring. I mean, without a doubt, you feel it when he's on the field. There's just more talent. There's more competition. I mean, every one of those skill spots across the board, like, you got to be able to play. But they're making each other better, and they're obviously creating a lot of competition, which is very healthy.
What are you allowed to do in your second spring that maybe last year, because it was so frenetic and you were new here, that you couldn't do? What are you allowed to do now from 30,000 feet? Does it feel different?
It does. It's I would say less like less install, less teaching everything from day one. It's like these guys, Jacobe was a part of like last year, he wasn't even here for spring, but last year we're just teaching the base, like day one things. We're teaching them not just a playbook, but like how to practice. Like, this is actually like, yes, we hit, like we compete. Like every day that they say, let's us have pads on, we are going to be in full pads and we are going to knock the hell out of each other. Like it's the only way you get better playing football. And this year, like, the guys didn't even ask what the dress was. Like, they know. Like, if it's not a shorts day, we're in full pads and we're going. And so just the little things that maybe year one you have to spend so much time on, there's a little less of that. And then I think the other that's really showed up to me is, and I know the question was more directed towards Caleb earlier, but we've done so much situational work. I mean, you ask these guys, like, almost every single day, at least half the practice is situational work, which is good for us because, again, for the whole team, there's learning it, but then there's learning to apply it in those situations. And typically, your bigger games against your better opponents late in the year, they're going to come down to those. And when you can spend more time on it and get these guys more comfortable, more well-versed, obviously our hope is that, and our expectation is it'll show up in the big moments and big games coming up.
Lincoln, there's a lot of talk about spring games where people could do scrimmages against other universities or other programs. Would something you would want to do in the future if that was allowed?
I would be interested in looking at it. I don't know that I would say no. I think the toughest part would be, agreeing on, how many plays and how you set it up and all of that. That would probably be the toughest part because it's different in spring because everybody's rosters are in a totally different place, and it's nice to kind of be able to set your own kind of rules and set it up based on kind of where your roster's at right now. But obviously give you the chance to, go out there and play where you don't have 22 guys out there on every single snap. And that's a little bit different too. So we would look at it. I think it'd be interesting to have the conversation, but I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with the way we do it right now.
MarShawn, you made your Coliseum debut in front of fans. I feel it's a nice juke move in front of them. Oh yeah, it was definitely amazing to be able to do that in front of the fans and just honestly just be out here with my teammates. You know, I feel like we did a great job. You know, online did a great job. It just was everything connected on all cylinders. So it was just pretty cool to be able to showcase that in front of everyone.
What have you seen from some of the true freshmen backs?
Oh, they're amazing. You know, I tell them that every day. Like they're really good backs. They don't even seem like freshmen to me. They're still getting the playbook, but it's just they're very hard workers, and it's only up from here for them.
Lincoln, when you look at the defense, how do you compare how you felt about that unit coming out of spring last year, maybe compared to now?
I mean, the difference in the front seven is noticeable. I think we all knew, like deep down, that we had some holes there last year. I mean, it is what it is, right? You knew, and even when we're winning games and playing well defensively, like at some point this has got to be addressed. It was going to be a focal point, no matter if we won 5 games last year, we won 11, or we won 15 games last year. Like it was gonna happen, and so I'm excited about what that looks like. And then I know in the media deal the other day, I used Sierra as an example. Jacobe's a great example of this as well. The continuity of having some of the same coaches, obviously the defensive staff other than Greg is exactly the same system. You see year 2, some of these guys start to take off, and all of a sudden not everything's so new for them. They start to get settled in and they start to play faster and more confident and more of a playmaking attitude within that scheme because there is that familiarity. And I think there's several defensive guys. I put Rajon in that category. I put Shane in that category. I put Jacobe. I put Sierra. And there's a Solo I put in that category. Like, we have a number of returners that are playing better ball this spring than they did at any point during the season last year. So guys are getting developed, and there's really, obviously, I know there's a lot of talk about the newcomers, and there should be, but there's a lot of guys that were in-house last year that look a lot different, and they're heading the way that they should, and that's very exciting.
Jacobe, you had a couple of interceptions today. How much did you have to politic for that first one to make sure you got credit for it?
The ref called a touchdown, and you can't really argue with the refs. And then they went back to review it. I'm just happy to be there for my team. There's a lot of things that went into that pick. Just happy I was able to take it away.
That was a conflicted review for me. I had one like that we guy at Oklahoma made a great play, but it was on a 4th down, and actually if he wouldn't have picked it, we would have got the ball back like 20 yards further, and I actually thought about challenging it. People thought I was out of my mind, and it was like a crazy one-handed pick. It was DJ Graham made a great play, and I kind of felt like that today. And then I watched the replay, and I made an executive decision there. That was an interception. So great play, dude. I got you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.